Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast is number 1345. The topic is training and the title is Permanent Rehab, and I'm joined with my wife, Meredith.
Hey, it's been a minute.
Yes, but yes, I'm glad you're back. Always happy to have you on here. So yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about some rehab work we've done to improve squatting and get rid of like knee pinching pain.
Yes.
Yes. So what was some of the before you and I started working on all of this? Now we do have like it's been a minute. It's been a while working on it, but we do have podcast number 1083 is a training podcast titled With Meredith. Rehab Effects on Strength Progression, which we talked a little bit about the background, so people can kind of listen to that to learn even more about it. We have podcast 869 that we did together. It was a mindset podcast titled Benefits of Being Open-Minded, which is going to come up later on here in the podcast. And then a recent one I just did like 2 podcasts ago was a Q&A titled Should I Use the Leg Press or the Hack Squat? And I don't know if you know about that, but I did a podcast where I actually explained in relation to why we have you do the hack squat instead of leg press in a moment, and then how people can know which one they should use. So that one also includes a little bit of your journey.
Know. I would have to ask you.
Yeah, so that's
why
fun.
Are we doing this and not the other one?
So it's fun. So that's a lot of where people can learn more background.
Yeah.
But let's also give a little bit of quick background here. So you were a dancer for how many years?
Since my first recital, I was 4.
Oh my!
So I think I danced for 24 years.
Yes, and then what types of dancing? So people are gonna think of
ballet, tap, jazz, point for many, many years. Lyrical, modern, hip hop, swing, African.
That hip hop is that Millennium Dance videos?
Yeah, we watch a lot of those.
Those are cool.
Those are really fun. Yeah, but my dance instructors always told all of us that we were so small and young. It was, if you don't do everything, if you can't do everything and you can't do it well, don't call yourself a dancer.
Oof.
And I was like, oh God, okay.
Yeah.
So we did. We took everything, and if you weren't good at one of the many types, they would just make you cry until you left.
Lovely.
So we started with a really big group, and then when I was 18 and we graduated, it was like me and 2 other seniors instead of like 12.
Wow. Yeah, you're a very tough cookie, and that was probably one of the reasons why you're a tough
anxious.
Yes.
Yeah.
But,
so anyway, did all of that all of the time, and then you have all of those classes, but then you also have like technique class, which is like equivalent if you majored in like science or something, and you have a 3-hour lab, and you don't get credit for it, you have to do it anyway. It was like all those technique classes, and then we competed. So like I didn't have weekends free for like 5 years of my young childhood. Yeah. And then. But yeah, I mean, all of the stretching and the technique and the turnout, and it's so funny that I don't think I realized the change in my hips, or like how I even stood. Like I knew if I stood still, my feet were like permanently affixed in a first position.
Yes. Now, if somebody doesn't know what a first position is that like toes flared out?
Yeah, your toes are flared out like 50-degree angles, like. Turned out, and then if you have your feet parallel, you feel like your feet are completely turned in or backwards because you're so used to being
that was
turned
definitely
out.
Something like when you and I started exercising, and I would watch like you'd get in position for something, and the toes and the feet were flared out like super far.
Oh God, yeah. And then it like I noticed it in CrossFit a lot, but I just assumed I just sucked at some things, not realizing that I don't want to clean that. Let me just power clean it.
Yes.
Because lifting it from the ground to my shoulders was easier than like dipping under it and catching it because my ankles didn't move or my knees hit the ground, and then my knee would turn, and then I would like stand up and roll onto my heels and stand. It was so ugly, but
you're determined though. You kick butt. And you were like CrossFit instructor at some big CrossFit locations.
Oh yeah, really really good. Like our gym hosted the Open in 2013, I think. And, But yeah, it was just something that, okay, well, this is how my body is, so I'm just going to figure out how to do it like this. Yeah. Because no one told me how to fix anything. It was just, oh, that's Meredith. That's what she does. That's how she catches cleans.
And that was interesting.
On one leg.
Yeah, like when you and I started training together.
It was might as well have been a pistol. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. You, you would move, and it's like, well, I always move that way. And given my background, like doing rehab and doing corrective therapy stuff, I'm like, well, you don't have to always move that way.
Yeah.
We can definitely get you to move differently.
I don't understand.
Yeah, and then the way, what caused it, the issues is due to the turnout position, the ankle, the knees, the hips, everything was so externally rotated and so tight that when you would try to do, for example, a squat or a clean or anything, your torso was almost parallel with the floor because you couldn't have your shins go forward.
Yeah, which I didn't even notice.
No one told you this stuff. Yeah, so what's sad is you're trying to catch a bar on the front side of you and you're parallel with the floor, not upright.
Yeah.
So
no wonder I dropped a bar all the time.
Yeah, so if you were to imagine the worst possible position to catch a bar in, that was what your body gave you. Then that's all you had.
Yeah.
Is I'm going to try to do a front squat when my chest is pointing to the floor. How the hell are you going to do that?
I don't understand.
Yeah. So it was interesting that we saw that, and then as you and I started dating and you were getting to know me a little more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I was working with another coach for a few months right when we met. Yeah. You know, just separate church and state.
Yeah. Well, I told you from the beginning, I said I wanted a ring, not a trophy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, you can work with whoever you want. I just want to marry
you. And then eventually I was like, F it.
Yeah.
I'm not getting anywhere. Can you help me?
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, yes, I'll help you.
Freaking finally! I'm just waiting for you to ask me.
Yeah. So
fine.
It was exciting. But, so that's basically, we had to do a lot of calf therapy, a lot of calf massaging, which is not pain-free.
Not pleasant.
So that was a lot of work.
Since my calves are bigger than Rob's.
Yeah, you have massive calves. I love them. They're super awesome. And that's from all the years of dance and everything.
And in honor of Father's Day, I have my dad's calves.
Yeah. But so we had to do a lot of work on your calves because your calves were so tight that it was severely limiting, just the ankle movement that you would need to have your feet straighter and actually have your shin angle forward. So that was one of the issues. We had to do a lot of work on the hips. We had very tight, you lived externally rotated. So we had to work on kind of opening up internal, external rotation and then restabilizing the neutral of that. And then there's also posterior, anterior tilt, forward, backward tilt of the hips. You just lived in forward rotation of the hips. So we had to work on improving range of motion of that and finding neutral. So we had to work on the hips a lot. And it was more so kind of opening up available range of motion and finding stability, muscular stability and strength in the middle of the ranges rather than the end ranges. Then with all of that in place, we were then able to work on lower glutes, because that was one of the aesthetic things you wanted, was to balance upper glute and lower glute development. Yeah. And it made sense that your upper glutes were more developed because you always had to have that forward, that hinge. Yeah. You were always very forwardly tilted in your torso, so your upper glutes had to work a lot to upright you. So now that we had the ankles in better position, we had the hips in better position, you could do things where the lower glutes were actually active more so than the upper glutes. Yeah. So
and I have a lot of posts. I have a lot of posts on my Instagram about it. People are probably like, "Why the hell is she putting so many pictures of her hips?"
Oh no, it's awesome. What's your Instagram handle so they can check it out?
Oh, Meredith.
Yeah, so MERMERWITFIT.
Yeah, a friend of mine made my Instagram handle for me back when I was like, "What's Instagram?" Years and years ago. Yeah. She was like, "Oh, stop it! Give me your phone." And I was like, Meredith. She's like, "Trust me." And I was like, "Whatever." Yeah. So then I just changed it to fit. I forget when I started.
Meredith.
But yeah, so I put a lot of pictures there because it's such a huge difference. I always had that that hump on my side.
Yeah, upper glute kind of.
It was so weird. And then after, which we'll probably get to, just the years of rehab, realizing then once my waist looks so much smaller, I don't know how to describe, you probably know how to, but from the side where it's hips and stomach, abs right into your like rip, like everything is in a straight line, and it used to be like this hips, and then it looked like your belly was like curved out, and my back looked like it was such a huge curve in my back. Mm-hmm. And then it was so I don't know, so weird. I wish I had a photo. Maybe I do, or I can find it in relative to the podcast. But then once all of that got straightened out, the way because you can carry your fat evenly on your body.
Yes.
But then once we straightened everything out, the like fat pockets on my body were in like different places.
Yes, we changed your structure, so therefore it changed the way in which
it looks
like
so
you
weird.
looked, basically. Yeah, so we had to do
like things you don't think of when you're about to rehab and you're reset how your body is standing or existing completely. Yeah. Just reset everything, and then you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, it really helped. Like your waist looks so much narrower.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
it's like
really
that's
cool.
my waist.
Yeah, and it's like
weird.
I remember like you and I forget the exact kind of terminology and whatnot, but whenever we first would start like dating and we got to know each other more, you would say like you didn't like how like your midsection, and I was like, you're so tiny. What are you talking about?
And I was like, you're silly.
You're blind. Yeah.
You're
but I remember like you would, and to me, I understood.
You saw what was there that I didn't.
Yes, and so it was always interesting to hear the things that like you didn't like, and I'm like, oh, you're gorgeous. Like all we have to do is this, this, and it would move the body. Yeah. So this and this. Yeah.
Whatever.
And then
This is basically how conversations went for 2 years.
Yes, and but it was exciting. We got you positioned now, and then now like basically through all that rehab processy stuff, we got to where we could barbell back squat, and there's no knee pinch.
Right?
Yeah. So there's no knee pinch. You weren't falling forward in your knees.
It's so
the toes weren't flared out like crazy.
It's so weird. And it's been a minute since we've done a podcast on this together because God, I was so burned out at the beginning of the year. Just so burned out. And but we also have like a Bowflex Max in our office and a cable stack in our office now. So even though I wasn't in the gym doing like gym things, I could do stuff at home. And I was nervous that I want to be able to squat 300 plus, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that not doing it.
Yeah, we started all the rehab stuff in late 2019. Yeah. We did what we could through 2020. Do you want to give them a quick rundown of what 2020 was? There's no quick of that, but like 2020 was a lot. And I know everybody had a tough 2020 because of coronavirus. God. But we had a couple extra things to navigate through.
Yeah, 2019, my dad died.
Yeah.
And then so that was like a bit much. I wasn't really going to the gym, and then into that I was at a job at the time I was not a super fan of. And so I looked for another job, and I got like, at the time it was like such a great opportunity. And then amazingly enough, as I was interviewing, it was like 3 rounds, and then when they offered me the job, I said, okay, but this like all of this stuff in the world seems like it's getting a little crazy. None of us really knew what it was. And I was like, are you really is this gonna stick? Because I need to resign. I'm like, yeah, don't worry, we'll still take you. The day before I was supposed to start, they said they couldn't honor my contract. I was unemployed, couldn't get unemployment. What else? Oh, I was in grad school. I was still maintaining like nearly a 4.0.
Yeah, like a 3.98.
Yeah. And then I was looking for jobs, and then your dad had cancer. And then my mom had a stroke. And then at some point we started to plan our wedding. Oh, we were planning our wedding. That started to look vastly different than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, because of all the restrictions from COVID.
And within 2.5 months, straightened all of my mom's stuff out, moved her down here, got everything resorted, then planned our wedding and got married.
Yeah, like
and that was 2020. Yeah. But it was perfect. It was awesome. It worked out really well. And then that was just 2020.
Yeah,
anyway, and then 2021 was significantly better, but still a lot of mom stuff. Still very tired.
Yeah, still a lot of stress. And
Great job.
We were getting to the gym, like we were dropping down into.
You were doing what we can.
Yeah, we were getting in the gym, and then in beginning of 2022, Like, we just squatted for the first time this year last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been 6 months where we have not gotten... It's just been crazy and we needed time to heal.
I mean, obviously, we love the gym.
Yeah.
Clearly. I love working out. Obviously. I've always been an athlete of some kind.
Well, you've won women's physique competitions. You're a CrossFit coach.
That too.
You definitely love lifting. It's just... You've been through a lot in the last 2 years. You needed some time.
It was just the season of life where I'm like, I'm tired.
Working 60 hours a week,
I'm just
taking care of
tired.
a bunch of other stuff.
I'm just tired. I was just tired.
Yeah.
But I still found the time, because also during the last 2 years, Rob helped me understand that, like, you don't need to be in the gym for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I was like, that's bullshit. You're crazy.
Yeah, why don't you tell them about some of the workouts, like, over the last couple of years?
Oh, gosh. It was just the same workout. It was the same workout for 2 years. Which is like, what about the workouts? What do you mean? The 4 exercises I did for 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many RDLs did you do?
8 million.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stand up all the way. 8,200,000.
No, I think so. I think that's pretty accurate, yes. Yeah. But it was like...
All of them? I did
a
all
lot of the rehab workouts, they were boring because there was very pinpointed things that were exactly right for your body. And I was a big fat jerk and made you just do those.
I know.
Yeah.
And then there were some days where I was like, I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. Like, it's not going to be fun. And I told Rob. Remember? I was like, I don't want to do this. It's not fun. It's the same freaking thing all the time. I'm so bored. Like, I just want to go hard at the gym. I would sweat through my clothes. I want to work out for like 2 hours because I was never allowed to do that. You don't need to do that, Meredith. You just need this. No.
Yes. And that's something like you coming from a CrossFit background.
Where you slaughter yourself.
Yeah, I've trained CrossFit people before, so if you're slightly offended, I'm okay with it because I think I'm pretty right. CrossFit, you just abuse yourself.
I wish I knew you when I was doing CrossFit and like at my peak in CrossFit.
Oh, it would have been super awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
The CrossFit people, like, and coaches and stuff I get to work with now, it's awesome because we get to work on strength mechanics. Well, they also still go out there and do all that crazy crap.
Yeah.
So they're...
And you can eat rice without, like, 18 Hail Marys.
Yeah, you're allowed to actually eat carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not bad for you.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of nutrition work. All the CrossFit athletes I work with, I do their nutrition
Sorry
as well.
to all the Catholics out there.
No, that's okay.
We were once Catholic. I feel like I could say it.
There you go.
Kept the guilt. Lost Catholicism.
Yeah. If you're once in, then you're allowed to say whatever you want. Yeah. But in CrossFit, you were used to going to the gym and you would just plow through the movements to get the certain rep or to get the certain time with a certain weight. And with rehab, none of that is what you focus on. What you focus on is the purity of the movement.
Yeah, step ups,
technique.
a bajillion step ups.
But it had to be through, like, you have to push through the heel. My pinky toe has to have traction. I can't lean this way. Like, so a lot of rehab, when you do rehab properly, the technique of what you do is the utmost important and by far really the main thing you focus on. And weight comes kind of with it. As you get better technique, as your muscles get stronger, you happen to be able to add 5 pounds here or there, but you don't actually pursue that.
No. And everything that we did, like, I could just about say, I wouldn't have sought out anything we did on my own.
No, because it's meticulous and boring. I would have done
none of it.
Yes. And it's also stuff that you typically wouldn't be good at.
No, that's why I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, so no one's going to pick that.
It's not fun, and I feel like a failure.
So a lot of it, when we get into, like, rehab, like if somebody's going into rehab now, especially say they were coming from a CrossFit background, what mindset do you think they're going to run into if they're coming from CrossFit into, like, proper rehab? Probably just
boring.
Yeah, boring, frustrated because
frustrated
everything is so nitpicky.
Because you can't do any weight. You can't do weight when you're doing things that your body doesn't want to do, but you have to do. And disclosure, like some background, is I'm someone that is, you just trust the process. If you're going to do it, I'm a science person by trade and by nature. So, like, you can only have so many variables, and you just follow the plan, and you do it, and it's one giant experiment, and you track all the data, and you just go all in and trust the process. And so I did, but, if you're out there and this, like, resonates with you, like, I hear you. because you can trust the process, and some days you're just like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, you can trust the process and be frustrated by the process at the same time. That's okay.
So there's a couple of days where I'm like, Rob, I love you. I need to put my headphones in, and I just need to go work out and do something like where I just either get my confidence back or like it just feels good. And like I trust all of this, but like today I just need to like sweat and go home. Like, I would always go home sore. I would always be sore because everything was not natural feeling. But you know, so. And you were super awesome about it. And then we just go right back to the plan the next day.
Yeah. And I do that with like all my like clients who we do through rehab or corrective
exercise. It's like a workout refeed.
Yes. And everybody has their own frequency that they need that. So some people, they're okay with the meticulous stuff that they have to do for weeks and or months on end. Other people, we might have to have a fun workout even like once a week.
Yeah.
You know, I've had, what I love about being able to coach various people is there's not one way to coach everybody.
No. And rehab is so different than like strength training.
So you gotta find, as a coach, like you have to find what keeps that person motivated but still on track, and where's that balance point for them.
Right.
So that was, like I told you all the time, is I appreciated when you were vocal with me about what you wanted for the day.
Yeah.
Because my job isn't to torture you or have you be unhappy. My job is to help you. So if it felt like one day the best thing to help you was just let you mentally release in the gym, then awesome, great. I was happy to do that because that's just needed sometimes.
Yeah. And all of this to say, we're like eventually getting there, but to not have squatted all year until last weekend.
Yeah.
And I was super nervous to go back to the gym to say, oh my God, my knees are going to start pinching again. I was making such good progress, beat myself up, you know, like if you know, you know, you just beat yourself up because you weren't doing everything you used to do. And, or you're like, you get into that negative headspace where you're like, I'm a failure. I feel lazy. And then you just got to really talk yourself out of that.
Yeah.
But then to go and then it's like, oh my God, my knees are fine. And then you're like, are they really fine?
Yeah.
And then so you do more squats and you're like, is this really happening right now?
Yeah.
And then the weight I didn't lose the strength.
Yeah.
And my knees were okay. Like, I wish we had videoed my reaction to like putting, because it was just so genuine. And I was so shocked. And I'm like, I should have, I mean, I know, and I should have known, and I knew. But like I didn't know. Yeah,
it's like I know what I'm doing.
It was just so cool.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to know. Like you had improper mechanics and or knee pain for how many years?
All of them.
Yeah, all of them. That's a good answer. Yes, and then we took the time to do rehab the proper way. You then can be out of the gym, not squat for 6 months, and there's still no pain.
Yeah.
So it's permanent rehab. Hence the title, permanent rehab, is when you do it, quote unquote, the right way. And it is hard to find somebody who knows how to do the right way. So
no one
you
told
may have,
me.
like people listening, you may have done what that program
was. And no
was.
one told me. That's the thing.
Yeah, no one told you. That's what I thought was insane. No one told you that stuff.
I don't think people. I don't know that a lot of coaches know how to do it. Because they also told me I couldn't do figure.
Yeah, which is
like I was going to be locked in and stuck doing physique, which is not a bad thing. Like,
no, it's not the body shape that you want.
Yeah, I wanted to look different. And they're like, you can't do that.
That's like when I work with clients who get like pro cards and we do aesthetic shows. Like they'll tell me like, what category do you think I should do? And I'm like, oh, you tell me. Like here's videos of different
now you
categories.
Can't do like bikini.
You can't change bone
You can't
structures.
go from like women's bodybuilding to bikini.
Well, there's things like, for example, in NPC, like bikini, they and this is all
largely
exaggerated.
Genetic.
This is all exaggerated just for kind of getting through content quicker. But they want to stick with boobs. Like you have to have very narrow hip structure. So if somebody has wider hip bones,
like you can't do it.
You're not going to be able to get away with.
You're not going to. Well,
you're not going to.
Anyone can get on stage.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Pro card. Yeah.
You know, one heat of women's physique and 500 bikini. Like,
yes, absolutely.
God.
Yeah, so it is
so
interesting.
Anyone can do it, but
like
it's
you can change muscular shapes. You can't change bone strength, like bone sizes. Yeah. So, like, I've had a lot of fun. You won't get a
pro card.
Yeah, like you can compete. You can look great for what your body is.
Right.
I mean, perfect. You can look amazing. But are you going to get a pro card, like an IFBB pro card, if your hips are wider than your shoulders?
No.
And no. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. And that's the look that they want. So you can go to wellness. They have wellness now.
True.
You know, and then that's one that might fit your bone structure. Yeah. So I tell people.
And I was told to do that.
Wellness?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
Oh, you look way too. Yeah, you look. Whatever. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. That was Rob's honest reaction because I don't think I ever told him.
No. Yeah, I'm very happy you're doing figure. You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
But that's the thing is you can find the categories that would fit your body type, like bone structure wise, and then you can make your muscles whatever you want your muscles to be. And that's what people never told you is they thought your mechanics were stuck. And it's like all of your mechanics are based off of like muscle lengths, muscle like relationships to the joints. All of that can be changed. You can change muscle anytime you want. And that's what's interesting is no one ever told you that. No one ever kind of took you through that process.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Yeah. And that's just it's sad because then there you are trying to fight a battle, you know, trying to be the best CrossFitter you can be. But you can't have your torso angles like parallel to the floor. Yeah. You know, how much strength you had. If they could have helped you and you could have had an upright torso, oh my gosh, you would have crushed things. You'd have crushed weight. So it's something where in rehab, if you're going through rehab, you can make permanent changes. Like you're not stuck in this rehab cycle forever to where like, you know, I fix my elbow, but then all of a sudden once I go back to lifting, it always hurts. Or my shoulder always feels good, but once I lift for 2 or 3 weeks, it hurts again. Like I hear powerlifters all the time say, you know, oh, my hip always hurts when I get ready for a powerlifting meet, and then I just take a couple months off.
You're doing it wrong.
And it's like, yeah, you're
doing it wrong.
No reason why your hip should hurt when you're doing that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's like culture just makes it seem like if you can't push through it, you're weak.
And that's very true too. Is like a lot of people think, for example, in powerlifting,
no pain, no gain.
Yeah, if something doesn't hurt, you're not doing it right. And it's like, oh no, you don't like. You might have like a little annoyance that's there for a couple of days, but you shouldn't have a chronic issue that's
like
always
pain?
hurting. Yeah, heck no. Yeah. And that's kind of the point of a lot of our rambling today is just that rehab. You can do rehab in a quote unquote proper way to where you rehab once and you're done.
Right?
You rehab
so cool.
it, you fix it, and now it's done for the rest of your life.
And now we can just go freaking lift heavy.
Yeah, now we can just have fun. Like, and it was just investing the nuances and going through the small, petty, like, you know, stuff that nobody really wants to do, but it's super good for you. You were willing to accept that.
Yeah.
So that's where that podcast
I wanted it badly enough.
Exactly. So podcast 869 that we did together was benefits of being open-minded. That was part of that process of if somebody's going through rehab and it seems the issue keeps coming back, stop trying the same thing. If it didn't work and it keeps coming back, like somebody tells you,
it's like diets.
Yeah, like I did that diet last time, I lost 50 pounds. Yeah, but you gained 50 pounds
Yeah,
back.
well, obviously you have to do it again.
So yeah, it doesn't mean it worked if it was temporary.
Right.
So you can do rehab where it's permanent.
Yeah.
And that's cool, and I think that's exciting for you. Why we wanted to do this podcast was
it's really cool.
You got to see that. You had like no back squats for 6 months, and the pain still is going.
Right, and like sets at 200.
Yeah,
like sets.
Yeah,
so
like,
I was like, how is this? We have to do a
weight.
podcast about this because this shiz is bananas.
It
was so nuts. Yeah, so cool though.
Well, I think it's exciting and it's encouraging. If somebody is dealing with an issue, especially if it's a reoccurring issue, I'm hoping that it's encouraging to hear that
it's fixable. Like you don't have to live with it.
Absolutely, you can get over that. You can fix it permanently once and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yes. So one of the things, like in terms of like comments, is being open-minded to new things.
Yeah.
So if you're trying the same thing and you keep getting the same results, don't try it again. You're just going to get what you got last time.
That's the definition of, what, crazy insanity?
Yeah. Just
doing the same thing over and over, expecting to get a different result.
Being stubborn. That's what that is. Yeah. So be open to new things. Also, take your time.
True.
It's so hard because sometimes people will do it, like they'll do a couple rehab workouts. It kind of sort of feels better, so then they go right back to what they were doing before. And it's like, nah, proper rehab, it does take some time.
I was shocked at how long, like, in the best way possible, shocked at how long it took.
Well, like, for example, would you think it took 2 years to fix your knees? Probably wouldn't think so, but probably because people would have just looked at the knee. They wouldn't fix the ankle, they wouldn't fix the hip.
And we did it with everything else going on, so we did it when we could.
Yeah, we did it through all of what 2020 was.
And 2021.
Yeah, 2021. And also then think about this is, okay, it might have taken me 2 years to fix my knees, but I get to have them fixed for the rest of my life. Forever.
Yeah.
Forever and ever.
Yeah.
So
I knew it was an adjustment, just like I'm trying to build my perfect set of glutes in 4 years. Because I know it will take 3 to 4 years. I know that. Yeah. And, like, you have to have the mindset where you're okay with that. Yeah. Where you're like, I don't need instant gratification to feel good. Yeah. Like how long it takes to build a good savings, or how long it takes to lose weight, lose fat properly, to gain muscle properly, to reshape your body properly. Like, good things take time.
They do, yeah.
That's a reason why that's a...
And we did, and that's actually a fun thing to note as well, is through all of this process, that, like, the only thing we were working on wasn't your knees. We were also changing shape in your upper body. We were changing shape in your back, your arms,
that
your
too.
shoulders. We were changing shape in your glutes.
So
we had multiple projects
like, we went to my storage unit yesterday, which is a fiasco in itself. That's like a separate podcast. How to keep your cool when you're going to lose your blank. Yeah. But, like, oh, yeah, I have this. I forgot I have this. And, like, a suit that I haven't worn in years. And, like, it fits, like, better now than it did then. My lats are totally in, and my hips are like, it was so cool. It was just so cool.
And we talked about, like, our wedding story.
Yeah.
Like, we went from we went down like 6 sizes or something in like 10 months.
Yeah. You gotta have, you have to know who you are for someone to look at you and be like, are you sure you want to order a size 4? Yeah. I want to be like, what?
Yeah, they're like, you should order a size 10. And we're like, no, we'll take a 4.
And they were like, convince you not to.
Yeah,
You're
and
like,
they made us sign that paper that's like, there's no refunds. They're like, we're literally not going to give you anything.
And I was like, good thing I have thick skin. And I'm like, whatever. Like, you have no idea what we're capable of. But I was like, damn, this would send the wrong person down a freaking shame spiral.
Yeah. And what was the end result? They had to take
it in. Their jaws were on the ground. And I want to be like, dig it.
Heck yeah, that's right.
Boom.
So we were doing that, like, even while we were fixing the knees. So that's something cool that I didn't even think about mentioning until now was...
We've had a cool journey. Like, so, like, we could just talk for hours.
Yeah, like, you can do rehab and fix your knees.
When your life is on fire.
Yes. While your life's on fire. You can't get to the gym all the time. That's okay. And it's not the only thing that you can do.
True. We didn't just focus on rehab. We actually reshaped my body entirely.
Yeah, so you can crush other goals even while you're doing rehab. And how many people feel stuck in rehab because they're like, this is all I get to do. Like,
that's true. I did. I also probably made it seem like I was, like, I wasn't having fun, or that was all we focused on. And the most recent post with, like, what was it, last year, and then most recently, where you see, like, my thighs are totally different. My hips,
we had to
my
be, like,
waist,
back to, like, right after your aesthetic competition.
Yeah.
Like, what was it, like 2 months after your aesthetic competition?
I look
we
the
have
same.
You in the perfect shape right now.
I look better now than I did
it's
3 months after my show when it's wild.
Well, but on a side, like, I think it's good for people to hear that you were frustrated with the workouts, because they're going to experience that.
Well, that's why I wanted to do the podcast.
Yeah,
because it's like someone's going to feel this way. I want to be like, you're not alone.
So when
you just have to invest in it. Sorry,
No. It's fun. Like, we're both excited, so we both want to talk.
We're so pumped.
Yeah, like I'm just fired up because there are so many people that need it.
I know, right?
And they're going to run into issues such as being frustrated with the workouts. And since I'm the coach, not the actual one going through it, I do have like a disconnect. Now, I've had my own injuries that I've worked through, so I do know what it's like to be in that position. But as a coach, you're able to be more patient than you are as a lifter.
Right.
And that's just the nature of things.
Right.
And knowing that I can see where you're going to be
and
how exciting that is.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Like, that's what gives me the patience to coach somebody through these things.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wait till you get there. You're going to be so happy. So happy.
Yeah. And I have the posing suit. So, like, I told her, I'm like, take my pictures, but don't show me.
Yeah. So we have before photos that you'll never see.
I will never see. I will not see.
Yeah.
Only once I look better.
Well, you look amazing. You look better now, but I know what you mean.
And so I'm like, show me the difference. Don't show me the current state. Show me.
There you go. I love that. That's good phrasing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Is like, if you're working on rehab, number one, If you're frustrated, that's part of the process sometimes. Number 2 is you can work on other things while you're working on rehab, so don't feel like you're stuck in it. Number 3, I'm going to say this, and I think you'll back me up, is you do have to find somebody who knows this stuff.
Yes.
This stuff is not easy to know.
No.
It's not common.
No. I've never known it. I've come across a lot of coaches, a lot of peer coaches, a lot of program. Like, people don't know this stuff. No.
So it is challenging. So if you are frustrated in a program, how do you know if you're frustrated but it's working versus frustrated and it's not?
Ooh,
Talk to
one.
who you're working with. Like, say, what should I be seeing? What are the progresses I should see in the next month, 2 months? So, like, when you and I
That's
were
true.
talking,
Then
I would be like, well, in 8 weeks, I bet we can do this and this in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And we would do it.
Yeah.
Like, there was always something that was showing us progress.
That's true.
Like, all of a sudden, we could do, a certain lunge, and we could, like, for example, we might have done a body weight, like, a band-assisted body weight pistol squat.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, in X amount of weeks, you won't even need that band.
Right.
And all of a sudden, boom, we didn't need a band.
Right.
So if you are frustrated and you're saying, well, how do I know if I'm right, if it's the right type of frustration, what are the progress? Talk to the coach you're working with. If you're following some kind of automated rehab program, because they do exist now, is still reach out to somebody in the company. So if you're following a company who sells rehab programs, there should be customer service to where they're talking with you and they can answer questions.
Yeah.
If they aren't, then if you're not seeing progress and you don't have anybody to talk to, it might be time to reach out and try something different. Yeah. Because the automated programs now, why I don't do them is it's really impossible to write a rehab program. Like, one of the ways I explain it is if everybody wants to get to Miami, Florida, I can't give everybody in the world directions to Miami, Florida, because I don't know where they're starting.
Yeah.
If you start from California versus Pennsylvania, there's very different directions.
Yeah.
So I might, if you're following a rehab program for bad knees, they don't know where you started. They know you want to end with healthy knees.
I'm like, what is a bad
But they don't
knee?
know where you start. Yeah.
Like,
and would they know you need to
what
focus
part
on
of
the
it?
ankles? Do you need to focus on the hips? Do you need to focus on the upper back? Like, how often can you work out? What's your schedule? What's your nutrition? Nutrition impacts recovery ability.
Yeah.
How many calories you have coming in, protein you have coming in, that it determines how frequently you can work out.
Yeah. There's a lot of blanket programs out there.
Yeah.
For instance, I received a blanket program once, many years ago, where I'm like, what the shit is this? I don't need to do calf raises.
Yeah, they
didn't write this. They didn't write this for me. No. And that tipped me off.
That's like giving Shaquille O'Neal height exercises. Like, he doesn't need to be any taller. He's good. But thank you, everybody, for listening to our rambling. I think we got a point across this. Yeah.
We went by way of San Francisco and back.
Yes, so we went a heck of a directions. But is there anything that you want to, like, reach out and say, like, it's kind of finishing things?
I don't know. I can't stress to trust the process enough. Don't give up. Like, the good things happen right when you feel like you're ready to give up.
Yeah, isn't that true?
Yeah. So just really trust the process. Don't go with, like, the hype, I guess, is probably one of them. I think we covered a lot.
I think we got everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like checking in at the end because I get super excited and I feel like I talk over you.
I'm fired up.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay.
But we'll do another podcast, though, because, like, food was such a big part of it.
Yeah, that's true.
The rehab.
Yeah, we'll do a food-related podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to this one. So,
thank you.
Yes, I appreciate your time. If you do like the podcast, if you think it's helpful, please consider sharing it. The more we share it on social media, the more people we can reach. Even if you just want to share it in a conversation with a friend, that's helpful as well. Just, the whole idea of the podcast is to help people, so the more people that know of it can be helped by it. Yep. And then thank you to the patrons of the podcast, people who financially support the podcast. It's very helpful. The podcast is well over $1,000 a year for hosting costs. I give an hour to it every single day, so I do appreciate the financial support. We have an option on our website now, www.brutalirongym.com. You can do a one-time donation, monthly donation, yearly donation. Just appreciate it that you do it so that we can keep doing this every single day and keep it for free. And then if you like the information we share in our podcast, we do share other information on our social media as well. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. If you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything you want to know, let us know at our email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Yes, and as always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.